Hey guys, Toby from Top Crypto here. Just got another Splinterlands video. Today I just wanted to start off talking about something that I've spoken about in previous videos, and that is on the topic of supply and demand, and then also utility. And I'm sort of just freestyling this off the top of my head here, guys, but I just sort of wanted to go through some good examples I think that we can draw from known supply, and then we can sort of determine the demand based off what these cards are selling for on the free market at the moment. And then we also know, if you've been playing this game for a while, you understand the utility in that what advantage or what benefits does this card give me, this NFT give me when playing this game. Now, as I've mentioned previously, with supply and demand, using the real estate analogy, where if you, and maybe I'll put it a slightly different way. If you lived on a deserted island, or you washed up on a deserted island that had thousands of houses there, but only a few people living on the island, those houses wouldn't be worth much to anyone, because essentially there's more houses than there are people there who need them. But say you started shipping tens of thousands of people across to that island, now you have more people than you have houses, and you then have an economy which pushes upwards pressure on the price of those houses. So 3 people living on the island, thousands of houses, a house is worth nothing. You have hundreds of houses per person to choose from. You only need one house. There's no point owning more than one house, because how are you ever going to look after it? However you're going to make any money out of it. But now tens of thousands of people move to that island. Now you have very few houses and a lot of people needing the houses. Now, this game has similar aspects to it, in that we're all trying to compete and battle to win, and there is certain amount of cards, be it common, rare, epic and legendary, all having different amounts of cards in circulation. And if you only have 3 people playing the game and thousands of cards available, then the cards are only worth what someone's willing to pay for them and someone is willing to sell them for. And then the other thing that sort of we have, and this is sort of talking about Chaos Legion, to be specific, that there's 15 million card packs released into the game. We've had it's become more difficult for bots to play this game for $10 and win rewards, and then we're only seeing 100 people to 200 people per day buying spell books, which means that every day we got 100 to 200 new players. We have 15 million cards, so we have an oversupply of cards, and the demand is growing. It's hard to really know. I mean, is 200 people buying spell books, yet 400 people are stopping to play the game? We don't know the full data around it, but regardless of that, 200 people a day is probably not a lot of people to be coming on board to acquire all the Chaos Legion packs that are for sale. And that's why it's taking weeks and weeks just to sell 100,000 packs of Chaos Legion cards. But anyhow, I digress. The other thing is, we know from the free market that we have here that there is, we can sort of tell based off, if I hover my mouse over General Sloan. That's a Chaos Legion summoner. It has one utility that is applied to it, and that is you get +1 archery damage for the life splinter. Then we have another Chaos Legion card. It is -1 magic and -1 health, so it has more utility, one would say, one would argue. And so that is obviously why there is more value for Thaddeus, because the market agrees that it is more beneficial to own Thaddeus Brood than it is General Sloan, albeit that there's roughly the same amount of supply for each of those summoners. And then what sort of throws a bit of a spanner in the works is it's not just a supply and demand issue. Like, the utility is very important because we have these two cards, that there's a lot less of these printed. We have Contessa Lament. Now, there is considerably less of this card in circulation than there is for Thaddeus Brood. However, Thaddeus Brood is worth more to the open market than Contessa Lament and Vera Salacia. And I may have butchered that name, but please forgive me if I have. Now, that is obviously because the market accepts that the utility, i.e. the benefit that this card provides, is far less than the benefit that Thaddeus Brood provides. That is why archery seems to be what the market at the moment would consider is the least beneficial. And I will further illustrate this, because when you look at another untamed card in Ouster Rotwell that has very similar supply, it's actually got more supply. However, Ouster has Magic Reflect, which is what probably is making this card be worth 3 to 4 times less than Ouster Rotwell. So we have these things to consider. So supply, demand, and utility. And that is why when you look at all of the Chaos Legion summoners, we have Kelia being the most valuable rare summoner, and then Quix is obviously more valuable because it's a legendary card and there's less of them in print. And as it looks, there's about 1/6 of Quix the Devious in circulation, as opposed to Kelia Frendel. So that's it, guys. There's supply, there's demand, and then there is utility. So we've now discussed, the supply versus the demand versus the utility and the abilities that the cards have. Now we have to ask ourselves the question, how do we continue to make these cards go up in value? Now, you may be saying, oh, well, it's just about playing the game and bringing more players on board and making the game more fun. Well, yeah, that's true. That will potentially make the cards go up in value in this game. But if we keep printing cards, there's going to be more and more supply. There'll be more and more utility, but it is safe enough to argue that right now, at this current time, we have enough utility with the cards that are in circulation for this game to continue being exciting. So, do we need to keep printing more cards? Because it's clearly obvious when you go to Splinter cards and look at what actually happens when you increase the supply of cards actually directly affects the value of cards. We look at Mimosa Nightshade, and 63 days ago it was worth $319, whereas today it's worth $127 on the open market. Now, it has great utility, great benefit, but what's happened now is we've just dumped 15 million extra cards onto the market that have similar utility, but there's a lot more of them, so they've gotten cheaper. And every time we release a card set, this is going to be the same problem that we faced. And I would like to say something positive, but if 100 to 200 new players keep jumping on board every day, we need to sort of find out the point at which the supply is outnumbered by the demand, and that is how we can continue to make this game a success. And that is the biggest challenge of the developers within this game. So as it stands, I think SPS is probably the best asset you can invest in within this game economy, because there is a limited supply of SPS. They can't print more than they've promised, but with the cards they can continue adding to them. So it is not beneficial to purchase cards thinking that they're going to go up the most in price. SPS is where we need to direct our attention to. Land 2 would be another very good direction you should think about. The one thing I'll say is, because the developers seem more intent on printing out more cards, releasing Rift Watches, releasing Oblivion, that takes the time off them in which they can focus on developing the game so that land can be released, which is concerning as an investor within the Splinterlands economy. So that's all I wanted to share with you guys today.